Welcome back to Exploring Whiskeys. I'm Eric.
I'm Kevin. Today we're going to, we're going to go play in California.
Northern California.
Wine
country.
Have we done California?
I don't think we have.
I can't think so. I can't think of anything that would have been California. This is Pipe Dream, which is the bourbon release from the Redwood Empire Distillery, which is based in Sonoma County. While they're based there, they don't really do finishing in wine and stuff like that, which you kind of think they would. You're right there. Lots of wine barrels right there. That's not really their thing. Their thing is they do a little bit of their own distillation, and then they source from everywhere.
Yeah. Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee.
And Northern California. Their own stuff.
Yeah, their own
Probably
stuff.
not sourced. So Redwood Empire is a nod to the redwoods, all the sequoias in Northern California. And each one of their whiskeys is named after, apparently, which I did not know, like famous or iconic redwoods. I didn't know they had iconic redwoods. See, you learn things. This is the 14th tallest tree in the world.
367 feet.
Not a small tree.
No,
not a small tree.
I'd like to see that someday.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Outside of that, they have all the all the labels are a nod to John, I'm going to say Muir, who was a conservationist and what was it? Grandfather of...
Like the grandfather of national parks, I think. Is what he's
National
called.
parks. Yeah, that. Outside of that information, everything they do is bottled at 90 proof. They have this bourbon. They have a rye, which is called the Emerald Giant. And then they have just like a blended American whiskey, which is Lost Monarch.
Yeah, so this bottle was a
birthday present,
birthday
right?
present last year. So I've been holding on to it for a little bit. Almost a year.
Almost. We're getting close. Actually, no. When this is released, it's already passed. So happy belated. Comes off a little, it's got that craft nose.
Yeah, the artisanal.
Yeah, that artisanal bottle craft nose. Maybe a little sharp around, like a sharp note to it, but not much.
This smells better than the other artisanal ones, though.
There's been a few that do not smell spectacular, but there's not a strong nose. Let's see, the other things they talk about, everything's at least 4 years. They do talk anywhere from 4 to 12 years is what the whiskey is that they're using and blending all together. And then they put it in I'm not sure if they're barreling just their own stuff in Northern California and then blending, or getting whiskeys, blending it all together and then letting it sit in Northern California. Not sure.
Well, I would think it's just the blending. Because if you're not going to age, they're getting it from
somewhere else for
Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee. It's already sitting in a barrel aging. Would be my guess. I imagine they're just blending. I think the palate's pretty good.
Palate's not bad. There's a little bit of a rye spice note in there, which makes sense with the mash bill. It's 75% corn. It's qualified as bourbon. Got to be over at least 51. 21%, and they say raw rye.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
I don't know what that means. If it's like, we're speculating here. Definitely not malted, not toasted. All those things you can do to your ryes. I don't know what raw rye means, because I kind of assumed if you weren't either toasting it or malting it, it's raw, right? That's, and then 4% of the malted barley.
Finish is sweet.
Yes. There's a pepper, I'm going to say pepper rye note that comes real strong right at the beginning, and then it just all mellows into kind of a vanilla caramel.
The back of you feel a little bit of heat, but it's probably more from the rye.
Yeah, that's my guess. That's not bad.
I think it's pretty good.
There's a little creaminess to it.
I'm anxious to try their other two.
Yeah, at some point we'll do, at some point we'll get there.
Yeah. Well, I know when it came out, I'd never heard of this brand. I know where Alan had bought it at R&B, and I know he bought it because it's from California, and he's from California, but it's apparently gaining some popularity.
I've now seen it more, and now it's become harder to find because it's more popular. So
funny how
yeah, I guess that does, yeah. Unfortunately. Yeah, there's a little bit of maybe a peanut note, but it's really light. It's starting to come through on the nose as you get it a little agitated. But really the palate, you get the spice and the warmth stays there from that spice. But all the sweet notes kind of come out. They're not like crazy sweet. It's not totally like sugary or like pure like caramel candy. It's just sweetness.
Yeah, just sugar. I mean, it's not like a brown sugar. It's just, I can't put my finger on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a sweetness. It's not a brown sugar or a caramel or a vanilla or a butter, all the, bourbon, various bourbon notes. It's none of those. It's just, there's a sweetness around a spice and a warmth. It's got a nice warmth to it. Nearly a Kentucky hub, but I guess
California. I would, obviously given where they're located, I would imagine at some point they're going to have a finished one.
You gotta, why would you not partner up with some local...
Especially with their own juice.
Yeah, take that, do a finish on it, things like that. Yeah, you've got access to all of it. Right. Why not give it a shot? And you can, try a different, like a Zinfandel, like the red Zinfandels and things like that. You could do a lot of really cool things. Why not give it a shot? Yeah, totally agree.
I would imagine it's coming.
But they're really new. They've only been around, I want to say it's either 17 or 18 that they first started releasing stuff. This whole lineup came out in 19. Established in MMXV11, which means 2017. So they're relatively new.
So they started putting their own stuff in a barn.
Yeah.
Around then.
Probably. Right. Just started distilling then. And it was kind of neat. They actually moved into buildings that used to house an apple canning and like processing plant that was called the Redwood Empire. That was the label that they produced their Apple products under, and they kind of took that and went with it. So it's got a lot of nod to that whole local thing, which kind of also reminds me of the nose a little bit, is that local artisanal, type thing. But it's not as artisanal, probably because of the sourcing.
Oh, now you mentioned apple. I picked up an apple.
Like the sourcing from Kentucky and Indiana, so MGP, and probably it's either Barton's probably is where, or I've heard Bardstown really does a lot of outsourcing for other places. So that could be one, and then a little Tennessee. Dickel. So you put all those things together, and that's kind of what it smells like. It smells like a blend of artisanal and then all those.
I still don't understand how Dickel does it, because it's such a small.
They got to be running it 24/7.
Or they've got another location.
That's a possibility.
It is tiny.
Haven't been there. Plan on it soon. Now everything's opening back up. We can make that trip. I'm going to say the spice has muted as you get a little more acclimated to it. The sweetness is still there.
It's got a long aftertaste.
Still not the script.
Long aftertaste.
Yeah, it all sits there for a while. So that oil is sitting there just, nicely. All right, so overall we're talking mid-40s.
Yep.
For
me, free, but...
Yes, for you it was a gift. But for the person who bought it for you, they spent mid-40s.
Yep.
It's probably in line. I mean...
Around $40.
Sourcing, 90 proof, somewhere between 4 and 12-year-old bourbon. Yeah, it's probably in the right ballpark.
I feel like everyone always kind of turns the nose on sourcing, but there's so much out there now. I mean, it's here to stay.
Yeah, that's a whole business model for MGP.
If you can find the right flavor profile.
What blend you want.
Yeah.
What you want it aged in. I mean, they have the ability to do all that.
Yep.
Various things that you just can't do on a small scale. Yeah. So it makes sense.
And especially while you're trying to establish a name.
Yeah, and figure out what you want.
Like these guys, they
what your
source
profile
it,
is.
but like we were talking about, like they could throw their own stuff in wine barrels and do a whole finishing line. So
right. So here's our standard line where we do blend of a little bit of this, that, and the other thing. Here's our line, and it's finished in blah, blah, blah from Sonoma County, and now that's probably a $70 or $80 bottle.
Yep.
because it's finished and it's all artisanal. Overall, not a bad whiskey, not a bad bourbon.
I would, still
bad.
trying to make my way out to that part of California.
I did, but I did all wines.
Yeah, my wife wants to go out and do wines, but I think I'll have to squeeze in a tour of this distillery.
They didn't. They opened up the year I went out there, actually, but I didn't know about them. So, what are you gonna do?
I'm sure you can convince.
Yeah, I'm
to go back out.
Very, very sure my wife would be super happy to go back out there.
Overall, I think it's a pretty good bottle. Again, anxious to try the other two.
Yep.
See how they kind of all stack up. I'm sure you're very anxious to try the rye.
I am so excited.
So, well, I mean, first bottle from California. I'm sure there's more. There's got to be more out there.
I would think so. There's a lot of breweries and things like that, so I can't see why you wouldn't. You got a lot of microbrew and all those kind of things. You got all the wine distilleries and things going on. How do you not figure out a way to just take some grain and distill that? So,
well, good start.
More to come.
Good start on the California bourbons. Well, we hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, obviously we'd like to see you swipe that like button at the bottom of the screen, and kind of the way we just said, if there's any other California ones out there, please leave us a comment because we'd love to track them down, try them on the show. And if you haven't done it yet, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, get notified every time we put out a new episode, and overall, just thank you very much for watching. Yep. See you on the next episode.
Cheers.
Cheers.